Hey everyone, I'm Mike. Thanks for checking out the channel. Today, by the title, you could tell I want to do a very different kind of video. I just want to talk about how music actually saved my life. And kind of want to put that out there and see if anybody else has any stories of how music really helped them evolve in their life and become the person they are today. So to start it off, I'll just start it off with a brief synopsis. My name's Mike. I have this channel here, but I was born in 1973 on August 22nd in Maple Heights. My parents are amazing. I got two brothers, a sister, all older. I'm the youngest of all four. And when people talk about, like, I see stories where people talk about family lives and they'll be like, wow, I just grew up in a rough family life. Things weren't good. I grew up in an amazing, nurturing kind of family life. You know, for most of our lives when we were growing up, we were dirt poor. There was like six of us in like a 1,200 square foot house that was really small with really small bedrooms, and we all just kind of found a place to have a room. I had my own little tiny room. My two brothers lived downstairs. My sister had a room upstairs next to my parents, and we were just always a tight-knit family. My issues always came from school. I have a song out there called Take the Reins, and it really addresses this whole issue. Growing up in my young days in elementary school, I went to a Catholic school, and to be honest, I didn't fit in. I didn't find that clique that I could find, so that really led to me kind of being like brutally just bullied, like people just saying the meanest things all the time to me and putting me down and doing these things. And it always took a self-esteem for me that, you know, I didn't do anything to people. I was just quiet, but it just kind of led to me becoming this person that just every day of my life, I was just kind of dreaded going to school and being just, I knew what was coming. I had a couple friends, which was great, and still people I know to this day that were just amazing people that they were kind of the outcast group of everybody too, but they were just amazing, and it was my little clique of friends. But overall, most people just kind of treated me pretty poorly, and it's just kind of the way it was, and it almost led up to early on in high school, but then changed there. That's where the change really happened. But so in my younger days, I was really, really, really sad just all the time. I just felt like miserable. I had a couple friends, but one thing that was really funny was that started it all was when I was like 7, 8 years old, my brother got a guitar. He wanted to learn to play guitar, and he took a couple lessons, but it was an acoustic guitar. It was a Hohner acoustic guitar, and he just didn't really stick with it. So I ended up taking the guitar because I wanted to learn, but I didn't take lessons. I would just fiddle around with it, and I knew nothing with it. I would just kind of play it. It had like 4 strings on it. We never restrung it. And what was really funny was one year when I was like in 3rd grade, one of my friends that was in there, we decided to like do like a talent show thing. And we did like, I think it was Hurt So Good from John Cougar Mellencamp. And we were just kind of like mimicking playing, and we were jumping off chairs and doing all this stuff. And funny part to that story that will go in there is that he was a good friend, still a friend to this day, but both of us stuck with music. He actually went into being in a charting band called Chimera, which is a heavy metal, like death metal, new metal kind of band. They are still like, they reunited and are still doing big festivals and stuff like that. Still talk to him. And I went into my own path of music that was just a different route. But I remember a story that always sticks out of my head is that they were having auditions for our church, like not choir. It was like a music group. And I was like in 4th grade, and I remember I brought my guitar into audition, showed up, knew absolutely nothing about playing guitar, and just open strung chords as they were all playing and stuff like that. And needless to say, I did not make the band, but I don't know what I was thinking or why I tried that, just to go in there and start open hitting strings. But I gave my all. It was a bad shot, but just the way it was like with school every day, I kind of like had my little group, but I kept to my own because I never wanted to like stand out, because if I stood out, that's when usually like People just say mean things and do stuff like that. But I worked through that in my life, and it took a long time to actually kind of work through it. So this is where it all turns around. I remember I was so sad. I was probably about 12 years old. And when you say like a 12-year-old that has problems, that talks about like suicide and stuff like that, I used to think about it all the time, and it was really, really bad. It was just something I was not happy, hated my life, kind of loved my family. They were great, had a couple friends that were great, but it was just overall being put down was just kind of too much. And I remember a friend of mine had made me like just kind of a song list that I should check out that I was listening, and gave me a couple albums. And one of them was an early Bob Marley recording, and the other was a later one that was, and this was around 19, probably would have been 85, 86. And I think Bob Marley passed away in 1981. But the two songs that really stuck out in my head, one was Redemption Song, which was the last song that Bob Marley ever wrote. And that song just emotionally hit me about how, like, you struggle and struggle to go through things, and it was about finding this redemption. And I love that song so much. And the one day I was just having the worst day. Everything in my life seemed like it was crashing down. And I heard this song, and it was off an early album. It was like 1974. I think it was Natty Songs. I can't think the name of it. And it was called No Woman, No Cry. And now, while I couldn't relate to that in the sense that I didn't have a girlfriend, so it wasn't like in the talking about having the woman, but I was just so down, so out. And then there's that part that comes right after the second verse where he does it, where he says, I think's my only courage, and I have to push on through. That's what I'm going to do. And then it came in with that, everything's going to be all right. And I don't know why, but that just hit me like this wave of emotion, and I fell in love with Bob Marley's music. Just, there was something in it that had such hope and such promise to it that it just made me happy and pushed me in directions of everything from metal to pop rock to just kind of, I was never a country fan, but like just all different kinds of style of music. Like I always think of the song, not Blue Monday or whatever, that How Does It Feel song, like kind of like pop rock song, really, really cool song that was during that time frame. And I just fell in love with music. So kind of pushed my dad and said, hey, this acoustic guitar is just kind of not going to work. We had talked about maybe putting a pickup in it. He had heard you could put a pickup in it, but the guitar guy was just like, it's not going to work. It's not going to be an electric guitar. It's just going to have this kind of acoustic sound. So I remember going to a bunch of guitar stores and looking at stuff. There was nothing. We didn't have much money, so it didn't seem like it was going to be anything that I could afford. And then one day, Christmas morning, I get up underneath the tree. I could see this big, like, kind of present that was for me. Go in there, unwrap it, and it's this electric guitar. It was an LP, like Les Paul style electric guitar, and the name of it was a Con, which was really popular amongst like brass and wind instruments, like school instruments. And now, funnily, that guitar is kind of like a cult collector's item because it was a lawsuit error, like Les Paul, and they put a DiMarzio pickup in it, and I loved it. I was so happy. I had this little cheap amp, and I would just keep strumming and keep playing, and just trying everything I could. But back in those days, we didn't have YouTube or things that you could learn from, so I was just kind of learning little bits and pieces, and wasn't very good at playing guitar. I didn't know much. So the next part is I had this crappy amp, so I needed a better amp. So next Christmas comes around. I went a year just kind of playing on my own, learning stuff, had the guitar. Next Christmas comes around. I'm 14, and there's a package under the tree that I could just tell is a guitar amplifier. So I open it up. It's a PV Backstage Plus 35 watt amplifier. Love that thing. It was so great. Had distortion, had a reverb, all that stuff like that. So my parents realized I really loved playing the guitar, even though I wasn't good at it. So came the time for me to do guitar lessons. We finally decided that I was going to do guitar lessons. And there was a place in Maple Heights called Music Manor where you could take guitar lessons. So got it all set up. Knew it was going to be expensive. My parents, really, with 4 kids, didn't have the money to pay for this. And this is where one of the most important people in my life comes along that just means the world to me. I even get teared up thinking about her, which is my grandmother, which her name was Santa Catano. And just absolutely amazing. And she fully supported me playing guitar. And I remember I had lessons every Tuesday. She would come pick me up from the house. She would take me to Music Manor. She'd give me the money for the guitar lesson. I'd go in, take my guitar lesson. She'd come back and pick me up and take me home. And she did this every day for like a year that I was taking lessons at Music Manor. So it was just like I kept getting better, and my love for the guitar had gotten better. And I'm just like starting to learn to play songs, and I'm doing stuff. And I had a couple friends that I was talking with about like maybe we could start bands, people that I knew that played instruments that just kind of like me were kind of on the outskirts of the cool clique. And I remember I decided like this guitar was nice, but at the time it was considered a relatively like budget guitar. So I got a job at a pizza place. I got a job at this place called Reddy's Pizza, and went to work there and just kept saving up money. So one day I saved up enough money, and my dad took me to this store called Cleveland Music, and we went there, and I bought my first guitar with my own money, which was, for a first guitar buying, it was a Fender American-made Deluxe Stratocaster, and I paid $600 for that guitar at that time, 1989. With Fender, it was first year they introduced the Fender Lace pickup, so really, really like amazing guitar I had gotten. So I took that guitar and I went to a couple more lessons, but at that point, from working at Reddy's, the owner's brother was a guitar teacher. He went to GIT in California, so he was really like, you should be taking lessons from me. I could teach you some pretty expert type stuff. So I left Music Manor, went to Tony and started taking lessons. And he lived right up the street from me, so that was nice. So my grandmother still paid for my lessons. But I would walk up there with my guitar every day, and it was just really like I started becoming a better and better player by learning from him. And that was how I really got into the guitar. You know, I formed a couple bands with little friends and stuff like that I had at the time. And my best friend from like when I was in elementary school, he got a bass, and his brother started playing drums, and we had a little band that we would practice in the basement there and put some stuff together. And it really became the great equalizer in my life. I went from a person that didn't want to be alive, that thought about suicide all the time, to somebody who this music was really, really inspiring me. And one of the things that was really big in it, from my standpoint, was I loved writing songs. I loved writing lyrics. So back in the day, I wrote a whole bunch of songs, like cheesy kind of kid songs that were just around, like stuff like that. And it really got really, really fun. And I played with my friends for a while in the band and stuff like that. And then I went on to high school. I was really getting into high school. And in my 10th grade year would be the year I took a music class that I started going to in high school. It was music theory, and I met a friend. His name was Alex. He was a drummer, but at the point he was like 1 year older, but a talented, crazy good drummer. Had won competitions and stuff like that. So I told him I play guitar, and he was like, okay, we got to get together. Let's start jamming. So we would jam. I'd always remember we would jam out Pink Floyd, Time. We would play that song a lot and stuff like that, and just had the best time playing music with him because he was a more talented player and someone that musically I could grow with, but he had graduated the next year and kind of lost contact with him after that. But I still moved on in this musical journey. And high school, I will say, things got better. I kind of found my niche. The first 2 years were still rough. It was still like I was still kind of an outcast and had some bad situations with people. But by my 11th grade year, really kind of grew into the person that I was going to be and made some really great friends. Actually had friends in like the sports that played sports and stuff like that. And it really kind of built up my confidence and stuff like that. So it was good. And at that time, met a girl, absolutely fell in love with this girl, and just wasn't meant to be. She actually liked my friend, so it was like not really a good thing. But I started writing songs about her at the time, and that built me into this whole type of thing of doing songwriting. I wrote this song called "Always My Dream," and it was just a song that was kind of all about finding the perfect girl. And I wrote this song called "Fear of Losing You" that I still know, and some of my friends will still talk about because they love that song. But it was still kind of cheesy at that point. And what happened was I started working at a different pizza shop. I was 16, 17 at the time. And at that pizza shop, I met the person that became my best friend that I hung out with every day. And through him, I met some of his friends. He just went to one school over from me, one city over. And the kid I met was a singer. So we started talking, and one of his friends was a guitar player. So we had this whole thing kind of building around. And we started working on music. We started writing music. And one of the things that's really funny is while we were in this band, the singer of the band was engaged. Well, he did get engaged eventually to this girl. But we had met her at the same time, kind of talked. So it was a recurring theme that this girl was awesome. I really liked her, but she just ended up falling for him and went with him. But she always stayed in my mind. And the first song that I ever wrote was for her without her knowing at the time. And that was a song called "Stronger." And that to me is the first song that I ever really wrote that I thought was like a really, really good song. And I still love that song to the day. I wish I had a recording of it. There's only an old recording, but I have planned to re-record everything I did from the past. So I am going to do that song. And then I eventually told her about it, but she was with this other guy. I never tried, I didn't want to step in there in any way. It was just a way for me to express that feeling out through song. And that's how I learned to become the person I am, is by writing songs, going out there, putting out all my feelings, no matter what it was. It became the best therapy for me. That's hence the channel, Mike's Musical Therapy. Music became my therapy. Writing and putting lyrics out to what I felt was my way of telling the world without me having to feel like I was saying it. So it goes on. I start getting better at writing songs, doing all this stuff, and eventually me and my singer friend were at a bar one day. We're hanging out. This is when I'm like 21 years old. Just got there, 22. We're at a bar, and I run into the kid from high school that played drums. So we started talking. He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "I built a studio in my basement. You guys got to come by." So we came by there, started recording some stuff, doing some of our songs, and then we found a bass player and another guitar player that I was friends with from high school, and we formed this band. And this was the first real band that I've ever formed. We actually went to play out in clubs, do things like that, recorded a CD, and it was really my full introduction into music. So that really just kind of got me going more and more. It built my creative juices of writing and doing stuff. But in the end, where the band was at, what they wanted to play style of music was not what I wanted to play. So it just kind of kept boiling over to the point where I was just like, nah, I'm not that interested in doing this anymore. I want to do my own thing. So that led me to exactly where I am now, as the same point as I've been for a long time. But there's been peaks and valleys of me playing and not playing. There was a point where I didn't play guitar for 2 years. Just kind of went through a funk, but then I got back into it. So it's always become now about me writing my own songs, doing my own thing. I get singers from Fiverr and stuff like that to help me out and do some of the vocal parts on it. But the same inspiration has always been the same as this latest album. There was a girl that, oh God, like really just have amazing feelings for. And same thing as usual, just kind of not the right place. We're friends, but just didn't become anything more than that. And I've dated people, had girlfriends in between, but just didn't work. But on this, I wrote 3 songs for this girl that were there. And I really love these songs. They're on an upcoming album that I'm doing. They're really just kind of like, the one called My Universe is one of my favorite songs of all time. And while I wish it could have gone somewhere better, it just didn't. And it is what it is. But this leads me to the point of a couple of years back, I got diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. But it's really, really, really bad. Like, kind of went through my joints and bones. And if you see my hands, you can see my fingers are bent to a point. But I can still play. It's harder. It's tougher to play. And that really caused me a lot of issues where it set me back. Because I felt like my one thing that I love to do, I can't do as well as I want to do, play as well as I want to play. I really have to keep playing for hours for my hands to kind of loosen up to get to a point where it's good. And even though like the finger's bent, you could still play. You're still playing on the neck. And this hand, where the hand's worse, at least it's the picking hand. So I kind of felt like I fell back in this funk. And that's where this channel came in. I started this channel doing like backing tracks, and this was right before I ended up getting diagnosed. When I started noticing that I was having problems, I was recording backing tracks, doing a bunch of things like that, and just kind of everything on my channel was about backing tracks. It was about recording, but it wasn't the only thing I wanted to do. I wanted to do more in music, and it leads me into this chapter of my life, which became one of the things that saved me the most, because I went back into a deep, dark, place when I was really losing how I play guitar. And it's so much harder to play guitar now, but I still love it, still do it, still can record. Just takes a little more work, a little more stretching out of hands and getting everything loose and different treatments. But what saved me is this thing right back here that you could see behind me in the corner. One day every year we go to this guitar store called Sweetwater in the United States. It's in Indiana. And I would buy guitar every time we went there. Well, we went back there probably 2021, right after the pandemic. And I was looking for something like high-end. I wanted to find a high-end guitar. And I go into the used room, and hanging on the wall is this guitar back here. And it's selling for like $249. And I was like, wow, this must not be like a great guitar if it's in that price range. But I was enamored by you can't really see it, but there's etchings in the body. And it looked really cool with this old pickguard. But the neck wasn't what I would play, and it looked like it had kind of like little issues and stuff like that. But I just kept going back to the room and looking at this guitar, so told my friend, I said, you know what, I'm going to buy that thing. So I bought it and took it home. And I kind of sat there. I have other guitars that I play, other like high-end guitars, and I was just kind of like, I'm not really playing this thing. I love the look of the body on it. The neck doesn't feel comfortable to me or anything like that. So I took it to Guitar Center. And I'm like, I'm going to trade this in, get something else, get something higher end. I know they won't give me much money for it, but I'm like, if I can get 100 out of it, I'll be happy. So bring the guitar in. Guy's like, yeah, I know these guitars, it's Axel Badwater. He goes, kind of a cheaper like Relic, but they looked really cool. And he goes, I could give you a 65 for it. And I was just like, I'm not going to do 65 on it. my price that I really wanted to get to was 100. And we haggled back and forth, and he all of a sudden came forward and was like, you know what? At the very end, when he got to it, he's like, my best price I could do on this is $100. And I was so ready to just say, okay, that's what I wanted. It's a deal. Let's do this thing. But I started looking at the guitar, and there was still that thing that drew me to it at Sweetwater. And for some reason, that day, I just said, you know what? I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to buy something new. So I kept it, brought it home, kind of put it in a case. It was sitting there. And then YouTube came along more from my channel looking, and I started watching a bunch of people who would build guitars, or they would do like kit guitars and upgrade guitars and do all this stuff. And it really just kind of drew my interest. Became a whole new passion for me as I was learning and struggling with some of my psoriatic arthritis. Here was this thing I could still do, is upgrade a guitar. So this, all of a sudden, as I was looking back, I went in the area where I kept my guitars, and I pulled out this case, and I pulled out this guitar, and I was like, you know what? Thinking of Bob Marley's Redemption song, I'm going to make a redemption of this guitar. So first thing I did was, and I had a friend help me with this. So this is the first guitar I worked on. I had a friend help me all the way along the way with this. I do everything on my own now, but he was a really great teacher in doing this. So the first thing we did, we listened to it. We're like, doesn't sound great. Pickups aren't expensive pickups, not great. So I'm like, I really only play the bridge pickup. So I ordered a DiMarzio Super Distortion, because that's like the ultimate 80s pickup. So that was $100, $110. We took that, got the pickup in, went over there. He showed me how to solder. We soldered it to the guitar, and it was really like, it sounded so much better, but still sounded kind of a little bit rough. So we were like, he's like, the pots in this are terrible. The wiring and stuff is terrible. It's just not good. So I was like, all right, we're going to get really, really good wiring. So I got a kit. I bought a kit, not hired anyone, but bought a kit from 920D. Put that in my guitar. This was like $120 whole wiring set. Put that in there. We both worked on it, showed me how to do it, and soldered the pickups into that new wiring kit. And that really upped the sound. It was so nice. I was just like, man, this made such a difference. The tone and clarity coming out of that. But now I'm like, here's a $250 guitar that I just put $240 into, basically, when you add tax. So played great. You know, it would slip out of tune a little bit, and we were like just talking about it, and I go, next thing we need to do to this guitar is tuners. And I'm like, if I'm going to get tuners, I'm getting locking tuners, but not cheap ones. I'm going with better ones. So I went with Hipshot locking tuners, which are like $80 plus tax. So you're really coming closer to 90. And got the Hipshot locking tuners. We put that on the guitar. So sitting there thinking, I'm like, now it's holding tuning better. I'm like, this is outstanding. I can't believe how great this thing sounds. I was like, but we need to make the tuning a little bit better. So I was like, I need a good bridge on this guitar. It had a really super cheap bridge. Because, I mean, at the time when they were selling these guitars new, I think they were selling them like $200. So I go out, buy a $130 bridge to put on this guitar. Take it. This thing I did kind of on my own, putting the bridge in. Without him, I kind of watch videos on how to do it. So I got the bridge set in, got it set up, played great. So now I'm like, okay, over $100 bridge, over $100 pickup, $120 wiring set, $90 on tuners. I've just dropped like over $400 on this guitar. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. I don't know why I would do that, but playing it, the last thing that really stuck out to me was the guitar neck. And I was like, I don't love the guitar neck on this thing. It's too thick, too wide. Just doesn't feel right for me to play. So I ended up ordering a flame roasted maple neck with stainless steel frets that cost me $130, and we put that on there. Switched the tuners out, and I put these little like gun shell tone knobs on it, and all together, I think with everything, not counting the time spent putting into it, I put about $600 in parts on this little $250 guitar. And I could tell you this guitar has changed my life because it helped me find a passion that I never knew I had before, and that was building guitars and working on guitars. I love this guitar so much and what I did with it. Like, this is being honest. If someone came up to me and offered me $1,500 for the guitar, I would not sell the guitar just because of the personal meaning to me in it. I really think playability, when people play it, they're like, oh my God, this plays like a $2,000-$3,000 guitar. And I'm like, well, it's got all the parts that would be in a $2,000-$3,000 guitar. So this became my new passion. And then I started doing reaction videos on YouTube also to music, because people are like, oh, you should check out music. And that has become a really big part. So my whole passion is that I went from a place where it was so dark in life for me that I was so unhappy, that music just turned it all around. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason every morning to wake up and want to do things creatively. And then I built this channel and found people that like love music as much as I do. We do a live stream every Sunday, and just incredible. And it's like, it's really what the power of music can do for someone. If I didn't have music, I really don't believe that I would be here. I don't think I would have made it, but you never know. Maybe something else would have came along, but this passion just keeps going inside me to build things, be creative, do things like that, keep writing songs. And I know the psoriatic arthritis gets me down a lot because there's certain days I just can't play, but I'm just going to keep battling through it. And I know this was a long rambling video, but it's just how I came to be and how this channel came to be. In that, you know, I always say at the end of my videos that music makes life better. And I really honestly mean that, because it made my life a whole lot better. And the people and the friends that I've made through creating music, and people that have bought guitars that I've made, the friends that I've made from it, have been this whole circle of people that just bring a positivity to my whole world. So just want to kind of throw up this whole situation, not throw it up, but throw it out to the world, where how I came about this and how music made my life better. And that, you know, if someone's struggling with depression or something like that, there's something for you. That's what I got to say, whether it be music, something in art, something in music, something film, something in hiking, anything like that doing. There is something out there that's going to fuel your passion for life, and you just got to find that. What made me find that passion for life was music, and all I can say is, man, it's been the best journey I could have ever imagined. Went from being playing in bands, playing shows, to writing my own songs and doing stuff like that, and now building guitars has become that passion to help fill some of the void for when I can't play during times of psoriatic arthritis. And now the big part that is kind of really nice is that there is a couple surgery options that they are talking about that they could do on the hands that could cause a lot of relief and give me better at playing. So I'm still going to keep playing. Not going to be shredding out there just because I can't pick as fast as I used to, but doesn't change the fact that I love creating music, and I love that I found music, and I love that my grandmother took me every week to go get lessons. Like I said, I tear up when I think about her, because it was absolutely amazing that she knew I was lost, I felt broken, and she gave me that ability to go learn music every week, and something that stuck with me forever. So I've rambled on here for over 30 minutes. I know maybe 2 people will watch this video, but I still wanted to make it to have it out in the world. You know, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. If something bad could happen, something amazing could happen, but this will always be out there on the channel. So As always, I'll say it again, music makes life better. Thank you guys for participating in this channel, all of you that come to the live streams or check out the songs that I write, or guitar reviews, or just different reaction videos. So thank you guys all for being absolutely amazing and being such a great part of my life and making my life better. I will see you all in the next video. Have an amazing, amazing night. Bye.